sources told me in the last few hours the Warriors will be incredibly aggressive in the marketplace to go find help to continue to retool around their big three of Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler.
The Golden State Warriors' plans for the offseason have already begun.
I'm told their priority is finding a playmaking wing defender or a center to add to this group.
Following the Game 5 loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves, the front office believe they know what it takes to come back fully revamped next season.
But a lot of it will come down to someone that Steve Kerr and the big three feel like will help this team and fits their culture and their identity.
Hey, what's happening, everyone? This is Switch Culture. This season's been full of ups and downs, with championship expectations at multiple points and the lottery at others. What wasn't expected, however, was Jimmy getting injured in round 1, and worse, Steph Curry getting injured in round 2. The subsequent collapse wasn't unexpected, and it wasn't surprising considering the rigors of facing the Houston Rockets in the first round. The Rockets were seen as one of the easier opponents despite being a 2 seed, and I expected the Warriors would take out Houston in 4 games as they had beaten them every which way during the regular season. Golden State had gone through multiple formulas and iterations. However, the one that was ultimately the overall best version of the team through tinted glasses was the one that stuck and ultimately led to the demise of the Warriors. Despite multiple wins during the season with Jonathan Kuminga playing a major role, he was left out of the substitution pattern completely when it mattered most. Many analysts and former NBA players disagreed with this notion, and it became quite an eye-opening situation when he became the best player on the floor for Golden State when he was finally afforded a role in the series versus Minnesota. Taking all this into consideration, the Warriors go into the offseason with the previous stated goal of competing for a championship with Steph, Dre, and Jimmy. Interestingly, however, even though Jimmy has 2 years on his extension, Dunleavy Jr. stated with much clarity that this was a 1-year shot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to cut it short, but I want to think a little bit more short term and see it as a 1-year opportunity, right? And then we'll see what happens after next season and how we pivot and do things differently. But for now, we're going to focus on next year.
What implications does this have for Jonathan Kuminga? Can they actually compete for a championship next season with the veteran core of Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green all being coached by Steve Kerr, or is there some change headed to Golden State? To find out, be sure to watch the whole video. But before that, be sure to like the video and subscribe to Switch Culture for the most analytical and entertaining NBA content on the planet. Now get ready. You're about to get The Warriors franchise is buzzing with trade rumors about the team's retooling options for the 2025-26 season. Should they re-sign Jonathan Kuminga on a substantial deal? Should they go with a sign and trade, or will they just let him walk? While some trades are more likely and are well within the Warriors' ability, such as a trade for Nikola Vucevic and Lonzo Ball, a trade proposed by Bleacher Report, others that might include Draymond and JK for Giannis Antetokounmpo might not be out of the question. There seems to be no ending to the options that could potentially land in Golden State in these trades. While they are indeed interesting, we're going to focus first on those options the front office has made clear to the media. We do have to be careful, however, as we've proven in the past that you can't take the front office at their word.
We love having those guys here. Jordan, especially with his contract extension, we plan to have him here for 4 more years.
So we'll most definitely be reading between the lines. Let's start with JK. In exit interviews, both Steph Curry and Draymond Green had this to say about Kuminga.
He's grown a lot. He's been dealt a very tough hand, to be honest. The fact that he's had plenty of time in Manhattan and been in rotation in Manhattan, that's tough for any player, let alone a young guy who's trying to figure it out in the league. So I commend him on just staying ready, see what he did the last couple of games. That's not easy to do, to not know if your button's going to be called, or your number's going to be called, and then go out there and perform. So I'm proud of the way that he's handled it. I hope the future is bright for him, whether it's here, whether it's wherever.
His future is bright. Whether it's here or whether it's somewhere else, his future is bright. That type of talent usually figures it out. I don't know where that will be. Coming in here 4 years ago and the player that he is today, he made a couple plays in that game defensively yesterday. And I pulled him to the side. I said, now you're playing. Because you're making reads defensively. So to see him taking those steps, I think that's more special than the offensive steps he's taking. Because you're really starting to read the game now. He has my utmost love and support. because I want to see him do well. In an ideal world, that'll be here. I think he's taking tremendous strides, and I think he'll continue to grow.
Almost seems like a neutral exit interview for a player headed to free agency. However, since no questions or comments were made on the likes of GP2 and Loon, who are both headed to free agency, it's safe to say this one's the biggest deal, and I'm sure we all know why. While I'm not sure it was entirely necessary to state whether it be here or elsewhere, the message is clear. The Warriors are fully prepared to let Jonathan Kuminga sign elsewhere if it comes down to it. But is this bit of news to be taken with a grain of salt? Is it more negotiation tactics? It seems, at least at first glance, that the front office wants to keep Jonathan Kuminga. During the Golden State Valkyries' inaugural performance, JK could be seen sitting courtside next to Joe Lacob, both of whom seem to be very fond of each other. Now, were I to hazard a guess, I'd say Lacob has very strong intentions of retaining Jonathan Kuminga. Now, earlier in the video, Shams broke the news that Golden State will be trying to upgrade the roster with either a playmaking wing defender or a center. The Warriors currently have 4 players that they typically play at the wing. They are Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and GP2. A playmaking wing defender displaces any one or more of those guys, except Jimmy. Possibly another negotiation tactic similar to last year, where even though Lacob is showing him that they want to keep him, Dunleavy Jr. is keeping it all business. Sort of like a good cop, bad cop type of deal. But how does Kuminga feel about all of this?
Obviously, your future will become a hot topic as restricted free agency gets here. How do you just view, your future here and your future in the league?
I still gotta figure it out.
While he did seem like he wants to be a part of Golden State, it's no secret he wants to get paid. The choice for him is this. Does he want to go to a different franchise, get paid immediately, while having a significant role on a roster that is more suited to his abilities? Or does he stay with the Warriors and wait another year or two to be the face of the franchise? If the Warriors can match an outside offer and give him a prominent role in the starting lineup, it's likely a pretty easy decision for him to make. If there's a substantial difference, however, we might have seen JK play his last game as a Warrior. That offer might also hinge on something else, however, as this isn't the only move being contemplated. Even though the Warriors have stated their intention to build around Butler, things might not be what they seem.
I think the thing with Jimmy is I didn't like the way he just approached the game. Like, I know Jimmy is a pass-first guy. I know he's about getting his teammates the ball and want to see them shine. But it's a point where you're getting 60. This ain't working. You got to go.
Yep.
He won't look at the basket. And I've seen this before. I've seen it in the Heat jersey. And so, in the sense, like when Pat come out, Pat say, we ain't want to give you an extension, it's not always because of injury. Sometimes it's, I need to see what you're going to do in every moment, not just in one moment. We saw Jimmy in the bubble. He was a dog. I saw Jimmy in another finals too against the Denver Nuggets. And he did the exact same thing he did the other night. He did not look at the basket.
Right.
I don't want to see that. Like, Jimmy Butler is too good of a basketball player to not have his imprint on the game. And sorry, sir, when it's time for you to take over, you just have to. And even if you can't do it from the standpoint of you ain't making no shots, I don't care.
All right.
Shoot.
Go to hell, ball.
It's bad offense. If you're not shooting, getting too close in that paint and not putting that ball up to that basket, that's bad offense when your team needs you to do it. Now, he does a great job of getting in there and getting his guys shots. But it's times where your guys have done all they can do, and you the guy.
Right?
You're Batman because Robin is out. I mean, you're Robin because Batman is whatever the hell.
Yeah. We get you. We get it. Your moment.
Yeah, it's your moment.
Yeah.
And that for me was the moment that I was looking for Jimmy to show why they made that trade for him.
Let's be honest. If the right trade comes around, everyone is expendable outside of Steph Curry. So why does Wade's opinion mean anything in this particular context? One thing stands out to me, and it's that he's seen Jimmy Butler do this in a Heat jersey. Now, we could argue about why that was and whether it's because Jimmy's passive or if it's because of injury. Regardless of either fact, it shows us something that's very important. Firstly, Jimmy has to have that secondary player mindset to play in Steve Kerr's offense. There's only one alpha, and that's Steph Curry. Secondly, this is the way we've seen him play ever since he wore the Warriors jersey. When it comes to undisciplined defenses and teams with unpolished players, he can easily take advantage, draw the contact, and get his points in the paint and at the free throw line. Lengthy and disciplined defenders make Jimmy's game difficult and also makes him less aggressive. He's also been beat up in his years in Miami and raises a red flag on why Pat Riley didn't want to give Jimmy a max. Pat wanted to focus on Hero and Bam for a reason. Young players are the future of the league, and while they still wanted to feature Jimmy, they didn't want to break up the young core to do what the Warriors seem interested in doing. Since the Warriors have Steph, however, it's not quite the same. What all this means is that if the Warriors are expecting Jimmy to take over the Batman role without Steph Curry, it's very unlikely. Whether he was injured or not doesn't add nor take away from what we can or should expect of Jimmy, and here's why. He's been injured in his last 2 postseasons, and as an older player, it's unlikely that this will change going forward. He's a great complement to Steph. However, putting him next to a player like Draymond with Curry taking a few games off is asking for trouble. The front office knows this, and considering they were trying to trade for Kevin Durant, who declined due to it being mid-season, don't be surprised if he gets dealt to the Phoenix Suns. And lastly, the Warriors have an issue that, unless it's fixed, will likely keep them from getting to the next level. Curry, Butler, and Draymond combined for almost $140 million. The salary cap is a soft cap at $155 million. However, luxury taxes don't kick in till $196 million. Can they acquire enough to help fill out the roster for $56 million? This is highly unlikely. Before signing Jonathan Kuminga, the Warriors have committed $170 million in salary for next season. This does not include Kevon Looney, GP2, Pat Spencer, Kevin Knox, Taran Armstrong, or Braxton Key. I mentioned this because if you do a sign-and trade, you are hard capped at $187 million, and you'll have to pay JK's replacement as well as those other 6 players a total of no more than $17 million. Lucky for the Warriors, they possess a traded player exception. They actually have 2, one from trading Kyle Anderson for $8.8 million, and the other from trading Lindy Waters III for $2.2 million. They are only able to use one of these, however, which allows them to exceed the first apron. This is different from the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which gives the team that's over the salary cap $14 million. This is what makes the sign and trade so difficult for the team, because doing a sign and trade also hard caps the team at the first apron. Therefore, the only way for the Warriors to be able to exceed the first apron is through re-signing Jonathan Kuminga. The second apron for the new season is at $207 million, giving the Warriors just under $37 million of cap space while staying under it. Hypothetically speaking, if they signed him for the max at $44.8 million a year, that puts them up to $215 million, which is $8 million over the second apron, while being 6 players short of a full roster. Reality, however, says the Warriors pay him enough with a significant enough role through Kerr's tenure. Steve's contract has 1 year remaining, and if you're going to take Dunleavy Jr.'s comment on this being a 1-year thing at face value, it makes a lot of sense that they will give it their best shot to keep JK on till that point. The Warriors will inevitably be a tax-paying team this upcoming season, going into the second apron to give them their best shot at winning. If they don't, there's only one other option to keep them below, and his name rhymes with Raymond Breen. Could the Warriors feasibly trade Draymond in order to make cap space? The answer is yes, they could, but it is unlikely to be something they do. That being said, if they don't reduce his role for the upcoming season, next season might be a repeat of age, injuries, and a second-round exit. Let me know your thoughts on what the Warriors should do this offseason. Should they let JK walk or re-sign him? Should they trade Jimmy for KD and try the vets for another year? Or should they feature their young players a bit more to take some of the load off Chef and see if they can compete that way? Post your thoughts in the comments below. Before that, however, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all your notifications so you don't miss any of my latest uploads. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Swish!